What happens is after a while, you start, I guess your ego goes nuts and you say like,
In July 2024, Eddie Murphy had everything. A new wife, 2 young kids, and Hollywood begging him to return. Then something shifted. Friends noticed he looked tired at recent events. He's been turning down massive movie deals. His team says he wants to focus on family. But those close to Murphy know there's more to the story. Something happened that changed everything for the 63-year-old star. What he's facing at home explains why he's saying goodbye to the spotlight. This isn't about retirement. The reason he's saying goodbye will shock you. He was born on April 3, 1961, in a corner of Brooklyn that sounded like gunfire at night. Bushwick didn't feel like childhood. It felt like survival. The elevators didn't work, rats ran under broken lights, and little Eddie Murphy sometimes crawled under his bed when the weekend shootings got too close. His mother Lillian worked 12 hours a day as a telephone operator for just $1.25 an hour. That was all they had to survive on. His father Charles did 2 jobs, transit cop by day and a broke comedian by night, performing for $15 to $20 in smoke-filled clubs that left his uniform smelling like stale whiskey and burnt cigarettes. When Charles came home at 3 a.m., sometimes Eddie could hear the coins jingle in his pockets before he even opened the door. Then, in 1964, when Eddie was 3, everything split. The money wasn't enough. The drinking got worse, and the screaming through the walls made neighbors uncomfortable. Divorce was final, but it didn't make anything easier. Lillian took Eddie and his older brother Charlie and moved them into the Roosevelt housing projects on Long Island. 1,400 families lived in that concrete jungle. Their new world was made of cracks, broken heaters, and the same government cheese grilled night after night. The welfare check was $178 a month. Rent took most of it. Some days they had just $3 left for food. Milk was diluted with water. Cornflakes floated in tap water. There was 1 pair of decent shoes between the 2 boys. Winters were cruel, and Lillian had no choice but to let them sleep in coats. Outside, the gangs came out before sundown, so Lillian told her boys to come in before 4 p.m. and not to look back. Then came 1965. Eddie was 4 when Lillian collapsed, coughing blood. Tuberculosis. 11 months in isolation. Eddie and Charlie were dumped into foster care. They were placed with a woman named Viola Jenkins, 67 years old, feared in the neighborhood, paid $140 a month per child, and barely fed them $20 worth of food. Oatmeal for breakfast, peanut butter for every other meal. They weren't allowed to move. If Charlie opened his mouth, he got whipped with a leather belt. One day, Eddie talked back. Jenkins locked him in a dark basement closet. At night, they shared a thin blanket on a single mattress, while cold air poured through broken windows. No one came to help. Teachers saw the bruises but said nothing. That fear, that silence, later became Eddie's material. The angry authority figures, the screaming aunties, the ridiculous adults he would imitate on stage. The pain stayed with him, but so did the memory. By 1970, Eddie was 9, and what little father he had left vanished for good. On November 12th, Charles Murphy was shot dead outside Mickey's bar over a $50 card game. The killer walked away. No charges. No witnesses wanted trouble. Charles was gone at 30. He left behind $800 in gambling debt. Lillian had to borrow $600 from the church just to bury him. Eddie found out at school when kids pointed and whispered. The open casket showed 3 bullet holes. That image lived in his nightmares for years. The rage he never expressed came out later, on stage, as deadbeat dad characters that audiences laughed at without knowing they came from real grief. In 1971, something changed. Lillian married a man named Vernon Lynch, who worked 14-hour shifts at Breyer's ice cream plant, making $165 a week. It was triple what she made. They moved to 1037 Washington Avenue in Roosevelt, and for the first time in his life, Eddie had his own room. Vernon didn't try to replace Charles. He won Eddie over with magic tricks and Yankee tickets. Eddie still resented him at first, breaking rules and refusing to call him Dad. But Vernon was patient. He came home tired, arms stained with vanilla mix, always carrying leftover ice cream cups. It helped. The new neighborhood had more kids like Eddie. His mixed heritage still got him teased, but he began to find his rhythm. He did impressions on the block, charged 25 cents, and made more than ice cream money. At age 10, he felt something spark. By 13, he had saved $47 and bought a Sony tape recorder. He spent 4 to 5 hours every day doing voices: Elvis, Bugs Bunny, Richard Pryor. He'd record a joke 20 times, study it, redo it until it hit perfect. He wasn't interested in school. In 10th grade, he only showed up for 60 days. He failed math, science, and English. But he got A's in drama. His teachers said he was disruptive. His classmates said he was the funniest kid in school. He got in trouble for impersonating teachers during lunch. Vernon threatened to take away the tape recorder. Lillian didn't let him. She saw something real. And then came the day that changed it all. October 1976. He was 15. He skipped school and crashed a local talent show in Roosevelt. He wasn't there to tell jokes. He wore Charlie's oversized jacket and a clip-on tie. He sang Al Green's "Let's Stay Together." The crowd of 200 teenagers screamed. When the host handed him $12 in wrinkled singles, it felt like a million. He went home and stayed up all night writing jokes on napkins. He couldn't stop. It became an obsession. Every Friday night in 1977, he lied to Lillian and said he was going to the library. Instead, he took the 7:15 p.m. train into Manhattan. It cost $8.50 to round trip, just enough for a ticket and a Coke. He found the comic strip on East 81st, a smoky basement full of broken dreams. On March 18th, he finally went up. His set bombed. Stories about foster care. No one laughed. He panicked, rushed, forgot his own jokes. But he kept coming back. Every Friday. For 2 months. He rewrote his crazy anti-material. On May 27th, that same joke brought the house down. The manager gave him a regular Tuesday slot. Then came the Gong Show Summer. In July 1978, Murphy entered a brutal amateur night at Westbury Music Fair. If the crowd hated you, they slammed a gong and dragged you off. 23 comics performed. Only 3 made it to 5 minutes. Eddie was one. His routine was about Vernon's military-style house rules. The crowd loved it. He got $25. People started calling him the kid who won't quit. He barely graduated high school. He walked the stage 2 months late on August 15, 1979, voted most popular in the yearbook. He imitated 3 teachers during his 47-second speech. By September, he enrolled at Nassau Community College for Communications. He showed up to 12 classes. Then, on October 3, 1979, he walked into the registrar's office and dropped out, told them, "I'm going to be on TV by Christmas." Lillian didn't speak to him for 3 weeks. That same month, he got a regular spot at Governor's Comedy Club. 3 nights a week, $35 a night. At 18, he lived at Catch a Rising Star. The club became his home. One night, he did a 5-minute audition inside the club's bathroom just to get a spot. It worked. In December 1979, he found something by accident. While impersonating his neighbor, Mrs. Williams, his voice cracked. Instead of stopping, he leaned into it, exaggerated it, and created a high-pitched nasal falsetto. the audience lost it. He started building whole routines with falsetto voices. His old church lady became a crowd favorite. Scouts from the Jeffersons came 3 times. He auditioned, but got rejected. He was just 21 when he walked onto his first movie set. It was December 1982, and the film was 48 with outdoors. Most people thought it would be a regular cop drama, but Eddie Murphy changed that the second the camera rolled. He was cast as Reggie Hammond, a convict forced to team up with Nick Nolte's tough cop. The director, Walter Hill, had warned Nolte that working with Eddie would be like working with a little kid or a dog. "Just hope for one good take," he said. But Eddie didn't need luck. His charisma was real. His confidence came straight from Saturday Night Live. He and Nolte tossed the script aside and improvised most of their scenes. That unscripted magic pulled the story out of formula and turned it into something fresh. The movie made $78.9 million and ranked 8th in 1982. The buddy cop genre was never the same, and Hollywood had a new star. Eddie didn't come cheap. Even for his first role, he got $450,000. Nolte got $1 million. But for an unknown actor, that kind of paycheck meant the studio already knew they had something rare. Eddie used it to buy his mom a house in Long Island. Walter Hill had actually wanted Richard Pryor, but Pryor's fee was too high. Eddie was cheaper, but not for long. By the time they made another 48 Cheat Schwarzers in 1990, the numbers flipped. Eddie made $7 million, Nolte made $3 million. The shoot wasn't easy. They filmed in San Francisco, and Eddie was still adjusting to acting in front of a camera. He came from sketch comedy, not drama. There were whispers on set that he might get fired for not being funny enough. They never told him that. Hill stuck to his plan. Take whatever good take he gives and move on. Then they got to the Torchy's bar scene. Eddie walked into a room decorated with Confederate flags and flipped the entire movie on its head. His performance was electric. Everyone watching knew he just rewrote the rules. Off camera, he and Nolte became a real team. Every day they pushed Hill to change parts of the script, and those changes made it better. Eddie was the first black actor since Sidney Poitier to headline a major studio film like that. The first time since the 1960s that a studio said yes to a black lead who wasn't part of a message movie. Some Southern theaters refused to promote it, so Paramount turned to urban markets, where Eddie's Saturday Night Live fame gave them a boost. By 1983, Time magazine pointed out that 3 of the year's 6 top hits starred black actors. And Eddie was the one breaking open the box office. He didn't just change casting. He showed the studios that black actors could lead action comedies, too. After filming, the editing room gave Eddie more power. He overdubbed lines, polished jokes, and made sure Reggie Hammond stayed street smart. Walter Hill, the same man who doubted him, now said Eddie would be as big as Pryor. The truth was, Eddie's instincts were sharper than most writers in Hollywood. His years on live television trained him to find a joke in anything. That gift gave him control over future scripts. The studios weren't just paying for a name anymore. They were paying for his brain. Then came Trading Places. In 1983, Eddie stepped into one of the wildest scenes of his career. He crashed a country club dressed like a Swedish exchange student pimp named Lionel Joseph. Platform shoes, fishnets, fur coat, gold teeth, fake accent. He made it up on the spot when the director told him to invent the most ridiculous disguise he could. It took 47 takes because everyone kept laughing. Even the security guards on location tried to kick him out, not recognizing him in costume. The film made $90.4 million off a $15 million budget. Eddie got his first Golden Globe nomination, and just like that, he was no longer the guy from Saturday Night Live. He was a movie star. The finale of Trading Places came from a real-life scandal. In 1979, the Hunt brothers tried to manipulate the silver market. Eddie read about it at the New York Public Library, studying trading patterns and reports. He and Dan Aykroyd's characters in the film used insider info to make $394 million off orange juice futures. They filmed the scene at the real New York Mercantile Exchange. Traders were paid $200 each to be extras, and they taught Eddie actual hand signals used on the floor. When orange juice drops from $142 to $29 in the movie, it mirrors real crashes. Eddie improvised, "Looking good, Billy Ray," and it became a cultural catchphrase. The Commodity Futures Trading Commission even used clips from the movie to train people about market manipulation. Then came Beverly Hills Cop. It was supposed to star Sylvester Stallone as a serious cop, but Stallone quit. In 6 weeks, the script was rewritten for Eddie. He didn't just take the role, he transformed it. The movie earned $234.8 million on a $15 million budget. That's a 1,565% return. The theme song Axel F hit number 3 on Billboard and sold over 2 million copies. The banana in the tailpipe gag wasn't in the script. Eddie made it up during filming, and Judge Reinhold broke character laughing. The film inspired 47 remakes and 12 TV shows around the world. Detroit police visited the set just to meet him. Eddie didn't just star in the top movie. His comedy album Comedian was also #1. Nobody had ever done that before. But Eddie didn't want to look like a Beverly Hills Cop. He refused the original costume designs. No suits, no dress shoes. He wore his own leather jacket, jeans, and sneakers. Production shut down for 3 days. Costume designer Deborah Nadulman had to redo everything. Eddie's jacket cost $35 from a thrift store. His sneakers were Nike Air Force Ones, one of the first major film product placements for the brand. That look forced script changes too. Now they wrote scenes where he mocked golf courses and Beverly Hills snobs. Director Martin Brest later said Eddie's outfit made the whole movie feel real. That casual Detroit cop became the soul of the story. Eddie's pay jumped from $200,000 to $8 million by the time he made Beverly Hills Cop. But behind the scenes, the studio had tried to soften Axel Foley's character. They rewrote the script to remove racial jokes and tone down the urban feel. Eddie found out. He threatened to quit unless they restored lines about profiling and let him control the tone. He hired lawyer Skip Brittenham for $500,000 to handle it. The studio gave in. He also made sure black crew members were hired. Minority representation jumped from 3% to 23%. He demanded final script approval for future sequels. The studio nearly shut down the film, but caved. Eddie became one of the first to push back against whitewashing and win. Then came the storm. In 1983, his red leather delirious stand-up special landed hard. It had 23 minutes of anti-gay jokes. He used slurs 47 times. GLAAD protested outside 127 theaters. Theater chains in New York, LA, and San Francisco pulled Beverly Hills Cop from 89 screens. HBO canceled 3 airings. His publicist quit. Paramount thought about dropping him from coming to America. He lost $12 million in sponsorships, including Coca-Cola and McDonald's. Robin Williams and Whoopi Goldberg joined the protests. Eddie eventually apologized in 1996 and gave $100,000 to GLAAD. The special was trimmed by 18 minutes in later releases, but bootlegs still spread. The damage was done. Eddie Murphy walked into Madison Square Garden on July 14, 1987, wearing a red leather suit so loud it almost spoke before he did. But once he started talking, the room of 18,000 couldn't look away. That night became Raw, a 90-minute shockwave that tore through comedy. Nothing was off limits. He mocked his aunt's dating life, slammed family members, and tore into celebrity culture with brutal precision. He did Bill Cosby. He joked about relationships like he'd never have one again. Some networks refused to air it. HBO trimmed it down, but the uncensored VHS sold more than 2 million copies that year alone. Critics called it dangerous. Communities protested. The FCC got letters. Still, Raw made over $50.5 million and made Eddie Comedy's untouchable king. A year earlier, he took a left turn into mystical Tibet with The Golden Child. It cost Paramount $25 million, and nearly half went into special effects that couldn't glue the story together. He played Chandler Jarrell, a detective dropped into a world of demons and monks. He cursed at spirits. He talked street slang inside Buddhist temples. It was funny, but also weird. Shooting in Nepal drained the budget and patience. The director tried to keep it serious. Eddie made it sillier. The film earned $79.8 million, but it wasn't enough. Audiences didn't know what it was supposed to be. It wasn't a total failure, but it taught Murphy to stop chasing genres that didn't fit his rhythm. He got his rhythm back in Beverly Hills Cop 2, where he spent 3 weeks riding along with LAPD before cameras even rolled. The budget was $27 million. He turned Axel Foley into a sharp-dressed action hero. In one scene, he crashes a Beverly Hills polo match pretending to be a waiter. That scene alone cost $400,000 and took 4 days to shoot. The explosions were bigger. The car chases were louder. Rodeo Drive had to shut down so they could film a chase scene that burned rubber through Beverly Hills. He improvised with Judge Reinhold and John Ashton like they were old friends. The critics didn't love it, but the box office did. It made $153.7 million and proved Eddie wasn't just funny. He was firepower. Then came Coming to America, a royal fish-out-of-water fairy tale that cost $39 million and let Murphy do something no one else could. He played 4 people: Prince Akeem, Semi, Clarence, and the guy getting roasted in the barbershop. Each role needed wigs, prosthetics, and hours in makeup. The barber's bald head, the loud customer's jerry curl, Akeem's braids. Every detail cost money. The wigs alone ran over $200,000, but it worked. Murphy turned the fictional kingdom of Zamunda into something that felt real. He even hired African cultural consultants to get the tone right. When Akeem searched for love in a Queens soul food joint, audiences followed him without blinking. The movie made $288.8 million. It was his biggest solo hit and his most loved. Off-screen, he was just as intense. While filming in Queens, Murphy spent over $300,000 on the community. He set up temporary barbershops for extras, paid for meals across entire blocks, hired locals as background actors. He even started a scholarship fund for kids in the neighborhood. He refused to cut his hair, so he paid for custom wigs instead. Not because it was easy, but because it felt real. And people remembered that. But the backlash from Raw wouldn't stay quiet. His jokes about AIDS and gay men had once been called bold. By 1991, they were called dangerous. A California man sued him for $2 million, claiming emotional trauma. The case settled quietly for about $100,000, but the damage was loud. Protest groups demanded boycotts. The NAACP frowned. Murphy said later he regretted the tone. It was a different time, he explained. Still, that lawsuit was the first time a stand-up comic faced real legal heat for words said on stage. It changed the way Eddie picked projects. It didn't change how many people bought Raw, but it left a scar on the legacy. In 1992, the distinguished gentleman tried something new. Murphy as a corrupt congressman in a comedy about bribes, lobbyists, and Washington rot. Inspired by the abscam sting, it was meant to be funny and smart. It cost $50 million. Murphy shadowed real politicians to prepare. He acted out bribe scenes that mimicked real ones. One moment had him taking $100,000 while casually eating a sandwich, just like the actual John Jenrette tape. Critics called it crude. Congressman John Conyers Jr. said it insulted black political progress. It made $65 million, enough to survive, not enough to celebrate. The same year, Boomerang shook things up in the wrong way. Murphy played a Playboy cosmetics exec who ranked women's bodies using beauty products. It cost $40 million and pulled in $70 million. Not bad, but not Eddie-level numbers. Behind the scenes, Halle Berry later admitted the love scenes made her uncomfortable. He insisted on real kisses, long takes. Feminist groups picketed. The New York Times ran columns. Murphy made offhand remarks in interviews that only fueled the fire. In 1993, he apologized in Ebony. It wasn't just the character, it was how he behaved on set. Studios took note. Some quietly started backing away. By 1994, the Beverly Hills Cop series was on its last legs. Beverly Hills Cop 3 cost $70 million and was a mess from the start. Murphy hated the script and rewrote most of his lines as they shot. He mocked Disney executives on camera, called CEO Michael Eisner tighter than Scrooge McDuck. The stunts, he refused to do them. He spent his downtime in a $200,000 trailer filled with arcade games, barely speaking to cast. Judge Reinhold said he felt like they'd lost Eddie. The film made $119 million, but 3 Razzie nominations told the real story. It was the end of the franchise, until a surprise revival in 2024. At 4:45 in the morning, on May 2, 1997, Eddie Murphy's white Range Rover was pulled over by West Hollywood police on Santa Monica Boulevard. Inside the car with him was Atisoni Sayuli, who went by the name Shalimar. She was 20 years old, a transgender sex worker who had already been arrested for prostitution that same night. Murphy told the officers he was just trying to help by giving her a ride home. But there was a problem with that story. They were driving away from her apartment, not toward it. When questioned, Murphy seemed nervous. Shalimar had $200 in cash on her. She told the officers she'd been working. The police report didn't accuse Murphy of a crime, but his publicist moved fast to control the damage. Paparazzi photos hit the tabloids within days. Murphy looking rumpled, sitting in that car, caught off guard. It all happened just blocks away from an area widely known for transgender sex work. The press wasn't buying the Good Samaritan defense. Then came the interview. Shalimar told the National Enquirer that Murphy wasn't just giving her a ride. She said he was a regular. After that, Murphy hired Anthony Pellicano, the same private investigator who would later be jailed for illegal wiretapping. According to reports, Pellicano paid $15,000 to other transgender sex workers to walk back their own stories about Murphy. Then, just a year later, everything got darker. On November 24, 1998, Shalimar was found dead on a Hollywood sidewalk. She was only 21. The official cause was a drug overdose, but conspiracy theories exploded. People whispered that she knew too much. The police found no evidence linking Murphy to her death, but the timing couldn't have been worse. Lawsuits followed. Murphy quietly settled libel cases against the National Enquirer, and legal analysts estimated the settlements cost him over $500,000. Late-night comedians wouldn't let it go. Between 1997 and 2000, Jay Leno alone joked about it more than 20 times. Murphy's family-friendly image cracked. In 2005, that crack widened into a legal war. His 13-year marriage to model Nicole Mitchell fell apart, and what spilled out in court shocked the public. Murphy accused her of burning through $40,000 a month on shopping and hiring multiple nannies, even though she was a stay-at-home mom. She fired back, calling him emotionally abusive and absent. Court documents said Murphy spent months away from the family, off filming, barely calling. The divorce settlement became one of Hollywood's biggest. Nicole walked away with $15 million up front and $25,000 every month in alimony until 2024. He also had to cover private school tuition and all medical bills for their 5 children. But the most unsettling detail came from Nicole herself. She said for the final 3 years, they slept in separate bedrooms. He refused to go to counseling. Their confidentiality clause was supposed to keep the details quiet. But in 2007, Nicole gave an interview to Essence. That violation sparked a new legal fight, this time over a $1 million breach. Then came Mel B. In 2006, the Spice Girl announced she was pregnant on live German television. Murphy was asked about it right there on the same show. He said he didn't know whose baby it was. Not until it comes out and has a blood test, he said. That single line damaged his reputation even more. When Angel Iris was born in April 2007, DNA proved with 99.9% certainty that Murphy was the father. He had to pay $25,000 per month in child support, retroactive from her birth. He'd only offered $5,000 a month before. Court filings showed he had called Mel B a one-night stand. He didn't meet Angel for the first 10 months of her life. Mel B's lawyers even presented photos of Murphy ignoring the child at public events. While all this was happening, his 1998 film, Holy Man, quietly bombed in the background. It cost Disney $60 million to make and another $20 million to promote. It earned just $12 million worldwide. That made it Murphy's worst box office failure to date. He argued with the director over the script, and they shot 5 different versions. Test audiences gave it a score of 23 out of 100, Disney's lowest ever for a comedy. Studio heads were horrified. Murphy skipped out on set days and looked completely bored in interviews. Entertainment. Tonight even said he seemed checked out. Disney pulled the movie from over 1,200 theaters in just 2 weeks. The backlash didn't stop there. His 1987 stand-up film, Raw, resurfaced. It had jokes about AIDS and homophobic slurs. GLAAD launched a campaign and pointed out that Murphy had used the F-word 23 times on stage. His team tried to spin it, saying he had grown. But at the same time, they were still trying to shut down the Shalimar story. And the contradiction was clear. In 2006, he finally apologized during an interview on Inside the Actors Studio. He said, "I was young and ignorant, and I'm sorry." But it had taken 19 years. GLAAD's president called it too little, too late. Murphy lost endorsement deals with McDonald's and Pepsi worth $3 million. Former SNL writers who were gay came forward, saying he had used the same kind of language backstage. His growth looked staged. Meanwhile, playing all the Klump family members in The Nutty Professor nearly broke his body. For the 1996 film and its 2000 sequel, Murphy wore over 100 pounds of prosthetics. The fat suit for Sherman Klump alone weighed 40 pounds. He had to sit in a special chair between takes. The physical pain was brutal. He needed months of physical therapy. He couldn't even pick up his own kids afterward. But the risk paid off. The first film made $273.2 million globally on a $54 million budget. The sequel made $166.3 million. His dinner scene, playing grandmother, father, brother, mother, and himself, became legendary. And then came Donkey. In Shrek, Murphy improvised nearly half of Donkey's lines. The swinging single moment wasn't even in the script. The movie grossed $484.4 million and saved DreamWorks from collapse. But things turned sour. In 2007, Murphy sued, claiming he was owed more money for sequels and merchandise. He said his improv had made Donkey what it was. The legal battle lasted 2 years. He settled for $3 million. That was far less than he wanted, but it exposed the mess behind animation's biggest hit. His relationship with DreamWorks was never the same. The Dr. Dolittle films earned nearly $300 million across 4 releases, but backstage, things were tense. On the first set in 1998, Murphy demanded ASPCA reps be present for every animal scene. He argued with the director constantly. During the second film, he even walked off set after a bear cub was stressed during a stunt. His insistence on better treatment delayed the shoot by 3 weeks and added $2.3 million in extra costs. Fox wasn't happy, and they took away his creative control in later sequels. But Murphy stuck to his stance, even if it meant losing power. Then came his shot at an Oscar. In 2006, Dreamgirls premiered. Murphy played James Thunder Early, a character based on Marvin Gaye and James Brown. He lost 30 pounds for the role and studied addiction stories from the 60s and 70s. Co-star Jennifer Hudson later said he scared her during filming. His portrayal of a spiraling drug addict felt too real. He was nominated for Best Supporting Actor. Everyone thought he'd win. But he lost to Alan Arkin in what critics called one of the biggest upsets in Oscar history. Murphy had already written a speech. After that, he stayed away from dramatic roles for almost 10 years. In 2002, he tried action comedy again with I Spy. It flopped hard. Post-9/11 edits gutted the script. Over 40 minutes of footage got cut. Murphy had signed for $20 million in back-end deals. But the final cut bombed, earning just $33.4 million domestically on a $70 million budget. He was furious. Owen Wilson said Murphy refused to reshoot scenes he thought were dumb. Murphy fired his agent and stepped back from leading roles. That film marked the end of his bankability in action comedies. Then came the divorce court shocker. In 2004, during legal proceedings with Nicole Mitchell, court papers revealed Murphy had cheated with at least 3 women during their marriage. One was Thandie Newton. Another was a production assistant from The Nutty Professor. Set, who said Murphy promised to marry her. He spent $300,000 on them while Nicole was pregnant with their 4th child. The final settlement cost Murphy $15 million and $51,000 a month in alimony. The documents also revealed he used private investigators to spy on his own staff, making sure no one leaked to the press. In 2004, something strange happened during Shrek 2. Murphy was on vacation in Hawaii when DreamWorks needed him to re-record a wedding scene. Instead of flying back, he had them send a full sound rig to his Maui resort. He recorded lines poolside while his kids swam nearby. The session added $150,000 in costs, but it worked. The scene became iconic. Shrek 2 earned $928.8 million, nearly doubling the first film. His $4 million paycheck set a new record for voice acting. In 2016, he returned from a long break with Mr. Church, a dramatic role based on a real-life story. He poured his heart into it, drawing from his own childhood in foster care. Critics loved his performance. Audiences didn't show up. The film made just $685,780 worldwide on an $8 million budget. It was a financial failure, but people started to see him differently. In 2019, he played Rudy Ray Moore in Dolomite Is My Name. He gained 20 pounds, mastered Moore's wild cadence, and improvised much of the dialogue. Netflix spent $30 million on it. The result was a critical hit. Rotten Tomatoes gave it 97%. He earned a Golden Globe nomination. It marked a turning point. On July 9, 2024, after 12 years together, Murphy married Paige Butcher in Anguilla. The private beachfront ceremony cost $500,000. They already had 2 children, Izzy Una and Max Charles. Paige became stepmother to his 8 other kids. He wore a custom Brioni suit. She wore Mira Zwillinger. He joked in his vows about finally settling down after fathering 10 children with 5 women. In 2024, Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F., premiered on Netflix. It drew 41 million views in its first week, becoming the platform's biggest movie that year. It reunited Murphy with old co-stars and introduced new ones like Kevin Bacon and Joseph Gordon-Levitt. John Ashton returned to play Taggart one last time before his death on September 26, 2024. He was 76. Fans were heartbroken, but the film became a tribute. And now, in November 2025, Netflix is releasing a new documentary called Being Eddie. Directed by Oscar winner Angus Wall, it shows rare footage from the 1980s, private interviews, and moments even fans haven't seen. Chappelle, Rock, Fox, Seinfeld, and others speak about how Murphy changed comedy forever. He's now worth $200 million. The doc explores what it costs to be famous for 40 years and how Murphy did it without losing himself. Last year, he turned down $100 million to return for more Shrek sequels. He wanted to focus on family. He'd made $10 million each for Shrek 2, 3, and 4 after earning just $350,000 for the first. Rumors still swirl about a donkey spin-off. He said he'd do Shrek 5 if the script was right. He just finished shooting a $60 million heist comedy called The Pickup with Keke Palmer and Pete Davidson. Amazon is paying him $20 million. Even at 63, Eddie Murphy is still making hits, still keeping control, and still proving why no one's ever done it quite like him.